Good day to you all. We have come to the Unit 3, Foundations of Management and Entrepreneurship. This is a lesson focusing mainly on staffing. Let us see how we can understand staffing in a broader perspective, because all of you, as you complete your BBA RM course, you will be getting hired. What is the work that has been done to hire you? You will be really understanding it well when you understand the quintessential of this session. Now let us understand the objective set for this session. It is to understand the management function called staffing and its facets, and to gain insights about various human resource activities involved in the staffing function, and to learn about how employees are hired, as I told you, in organizations, and their performance is evaluated in the process of hiring, and also to know about how executive development programs can improve the quality of workforce. Let us understand what is staffing. Staffing function has assumed so much of significance, especially in the organizations which are human intensive. When I say human intensive, there are so many operations which require human resources, and especially the IT industry and the complex manufacturing industry, where there are workstations individually being operated. In that case, the human resources play a major role in producing things or providing services. As you can see in the picture itself, you will be picked up from many people who have attended the selection process. So what are the processes involved in picking you up and selecting you is what really going to see in the slides that we are going to set up. So in the human resource function, talent acquisition has assumed a separate function by itself, because talent acquisition is a very complex process, because you need to recruit people by encouraging them to apply. Recruitment definition is that you have seen it in the earlier lessons. So when you recruit a person, when you encourage a person to apply for a job, when he comes to attend your selection process, you need to pay attention to his skill sets, his behavior, and his presence as such. So a separate function called talent acquisition is operational in many organizations, because technology has also aided in the process of staffing. Staffing is the key of human resource function, because the input decides the output. There are four main steps of staffing, if you can find out. Development of a staffing plan is very important, because this plan allows human resource management to see how many people they should hire based on the revenue expectations. I mean to say, each person will give a value, will contribute a value. What kind of a value is being contributed or expected to be contributed by a person is also to be understood. And the second one is development of policies to encourage multiculturalism, because in a country, especially when organizations are becoming pan-India, within India itself, and organizations are also becoming MNCs, multinational companies operating in various nations, and this multiculturalism has become an order of the day, because there are people who are coming from variety of backgrounds to the workforce, and when they are coming to the workplace with that kind of a background, you need to pay attention to, be sensitive to that kind of a fact. And recruitment involves finding people to fill the open positions. What are the open positions required? Why they are open? Are they relevant? And whenever a position is getting filled in, you have to ensure that the position is going to add value to the organization. If the position is going to become redundant because of technology or addition of some other activities, then you need to look at it. So the selection process will certainly depending upon the value of the position the organization has put in, and the kind of positions which are vacant, and the kind of people the organization is requiring. And these are the four major steps before we begin the staffing function. So you need to establish the manpower requirement, and you have to encourage people to apply for the jobs, and you have to go through a selection process, and having gone through that one, you have to provide a kind of a placement and orientation. I mean to say, acclimatize the candidates with the organizational values and organizational ethos and things like that, and train them and orient them to the job and the organizational culture. There are components of staffing, as you can see in this picture. Staffing process, as I told you, has got major requirements from the standpoint of finding right people for the right job at the right time. So these 10 components are going to give you so much of understanding about how you are going to be hired after completing this course or after completing your education. Manpower planning, organizations will do. What is the requirement of the manpower, and having done that one, recruitment, encouraging people to apply for it. In this case, I would like to say that how companies are positioning themselves in the job market, how they are presenting the organization, which means organizations will have to sell the organization to the job seekers. Job seekers will find very interesting to apply, and they would love to associate with the organization, provided you do a right recruitment. I means your advertisements, the way you position yourself in the job market, and the way you explain the job, and the way you explain a little bit of culture of the organization will certainly do that. And many organizations are having websites, official websites. They encourage people to visit the websites. So how you design your website will certainly matter, because that is the window to the world. And your selection process, if you hire a person by making him sit for hours together and making him clueless about what is to be done, what is not to be done, then that selection process is full of flaws. You have to engage the persons who have applied for the job and who have come for participating in the selection process in a meaningful manner. And having selected the person, you need to place him. When you place him comfortably. I mean to say, you must understand that the person is a newcomer in the organization. He has to pay attention to what is required to be performed and how he has to conduct himself and things like that. For that, the fifth function is training. You need to give him induction training. It's not on the job training at this point of time I am talking about. I am talking about a basic orientation, a basic induction training about work and the organization. And you need to develop him. I mean to say, having attended the selection process, having got selected, having inducted into the organization, you need to make him feel or make her feel that there is a development that is taking place in the person. I mean to say that he should be able to feel the kind of enhancement of awareness that is happening within himself or herself, and you need to promote him, and you need to transfer him later. Then you need to conduct the appraisal process, performance appraisal process, and you need to continuously evaluate and update his compensation structure, that is CTC, cost to the company. So these are all the components of staffing, because until and unless you know these components, you will never be able to hire a right person. Suppose you are going to hire a person, he is not a fresher, he is an experienced person, and he has achieved some recognition in the earlier organizations by getting promotion. So the first question he might be asking in the interview would be, how frequently you will be promoting people, what is the basis of promotion and things like that. You must be, as an interviewer, must be having logical answers for this kind of questions, and also you must be able to negotiate well the CTC with the candidate with so many details like taxability, non-taxability and things like that. Let us understand what is human resource planning, that is what is called manpower planning. Robbins in 2001 defines human resource planning in a simple way: right number and kinds of people at the right places and at the right time. You will find number, type of people, I mean kinds of people is nothing but type of people at the right place and at the right time. A simple example will be able to understand well. There is a store operating and you need a storekeeper with knowledge about supply chain management systems and things like that, and ERP. That is the right kind of a person, and the right place is a store. You cannot keep him in the back office and ask him to operate through computer. He has to be physically present in the store, and the right time will be you need to recruit him quickly, because the current incumbent is getting relieved, which means the person will have to be on board before the person who is currently holding the position is getting relieved, so that there is a proper handing over and taking over. This is what is called human resource planning. And if you see human resource planning as a continuous process which is happening in the organization, and which will have different parameters like what kind of personnel you require, what kind of skill sets, and what is the time period, and you will also find unexpected demands for products. Say for example, suddenly the pandemic has come. Now work from home has become an order of the day. How do you reward the persons who are working from home? What kind of incentives you are drawing up? There was no incentive like furnish your office at home earlier, because the pandemic has necessitated that people will have to have ergonomically designed a small office in the home. For example, there is a reading room in their home or an apartment. How do you as a company would like to furnish that room in a comfortable manner, so that the person who is working from home will feel at ease and comfortable to operate? So manpower planning is also having so many things which are to be kept in mind. So you need to define the operational and HR goals of the organization, and you have to collect data related to the external factors which are influencing the availability of the people, and you must have collect the internal data available. There are, for example, there is a position falling vacant, and there are potential people existing in the organization who were unfortunately found to be in a job which is not compatible. For example, a guy who has joined sales and marketing team is very good at analytics, and you need a data analytics person in the next recruitment cycle. What you should do is you must have a dialogue with the person who is interested in showing rather kind of a skill set which is data analytics. Then you can now hire in his place a person in sales and marketing instead of hiring a person for the data analytics, because the internal availability of that kind of a talent will enable you to fill the vacancy. Thereby you can delete that discomfort from the mind of the person who is doing the job which is not compatible to him. So you have to look at many factors while doing the manpower planning. What are the objectives of manpower planning? If you look at that one, as I told you, you have to have a right size, you have to have a right shape, you have to have a right cost, and you have to have a right agility. When it comes to agility, it is not necessarily the physical agility, it is a functional agility and functional flexibility and functional humility. I mean to say, a person must be not arrogant, he should be assertive. At the same time, he should be able to understand things in a dignified manner and conduct himself in a dignified manner. So when it comes to right size, you have to see that there is no friction. The number of vacancies are rationally arrived at, and people are not feeling that they are overstaffed in the organization. For example, for doing one job, if you recruit 2 people, and the persons will not be able to meaningfully engage themselves in a 8-hour job. So you have to ensure that the person will be having a meaningfulness out of the job. When I say right shape, critical competencies required for an organization must be there. For example, if you hire a person for a job like quality testing, is a person who is testing the quality. Over a period of time, this person must be able to grow in the job and take up production activity, because since he knows the quality aspects of it, he will be able to produce good things with absolutely zero issues related to quality. So you have to see the career progression of a person you are recruiting and the potential available in the person, because you are recruiting not for this position, you are recruiting for a career of a person. You have to ensure that he will have a career path. In that path he will be able to develop well. So forecasting the organization manpower requirements, managing change effectively, realizing the goals of the organization, and effective utilization of human resources are the major objectives of the staffing function. Now understand the steps in detail. If you see human resources in the picture, you are able to see it. People will be feeling that okay, I get some benefits when I get recruited, I mean selected. I will have some skills, those skills are going to be further developed. I have a talent which is further groomed, and through a process of development, I have a goal as a professional. That goal is going to be further refined, and higher goals are going to be set, and there is a training that is taking place. So skill set qualifications of the current workforce are thoroughly understood. If you are a HR person joining an organization, if you do not know what kind of skill sets are available within the organization, if you are a recruiter, especially if you are in the function of talent acquisition, you must understand the skill set available or existing within the organization. Forecasting for the future is what the recruitment function is meant for. HR team needs to identify those employees who would be best suited for the organization to face the future challenges also. So they have to survive, they have to thrive in the troublesome future. For example, if you recruit a person who is not having a future orientation, who is just for the sake of doing a job and earning the livelihood joined, and he has absolutely no career goals and things like that, so you are actually inducting a redundant talent which is not compatible for further development. So you have to see that and estimate the manpower gaps and formulating final human resource planning action plan. That is where your basic prerequisite of conducting the selection process will be fulfilled. Recruitment and selection are two different things. As I told you, recruitment is encouraging people to apply for a job, and you are selling your organization in a manner that people will be able to show interest in applying for the job. Based on the understanding of the emerging changes in the business environment, manpower planning requires a well developed recruitment and selection pattern. This is totally depending upon the forecast made and the business requirements. For example, your MD would like to see that he would like to expand the capacity of the existing plant from 100 to 200 tons. Then you have to ensure that do you require the same quantity of material, I mean to say the manpower including, or can you automate certain processes which are effectively done by automation, or can you introduce artificial intelligence in the process of making things? Then what is the actual requirement of the manpower? Having inducted automation, having introduced artificial intelligence. So these are all the things which you need to look at it by closely associating with the stakeholders of the organization. HR function is not merely a job of a clerk, it is a resounding kind of a profession which has got interconnectivity, interdependability and collaborative work patterns. And the training of employees is most important factor, especially employees who are part of the organizations are trained to have the best skills and knowledge and attitude too, because you need to have skill, knowledge and attitude at the right time, at the right place for the right persons, so that your recruitment process and selection process will become successful. What are the characteristics of effective human resource planning? When we talk about this aspect, I must tell you one thing, that you are doing the talent acquisition not for the present. I mean to say, not only for the present. You are doing this recruitment process or selection process for the present and also for the future. So, it has to be future oriented, and it has to be a continuous process, because we never know which positions are going to be redundant, which positions are going to be increased in numbers. So, you have to see that optimum utilization of human resource, because employee engagement is not just playing games while you are doing the job. It is meaningful engagement on the job, which means a person must feel that I am doing a beautiful job, and my job is very much that I like. I am very passionate about doing these jobs. So, that is what each employee must feel. So, for that you need to have right kind of people and right numbers, and you have to determine the demand and supply. For example, you need a statistical analysis of all the things which are happening. You need statisticians. Market does not have so many statisticians. What is your plan? How are you going to do it? Internally, you have to look for people who are showing interest in doing statistical analysis, or people who are good at numbers, or people with the qualification like MSc mathematics and things like that, because naturally when they have studied mathematics, they are comfortable with the numbers. So, you need to groom a set of people within the organization, not necessarily hiring people from the market where the market is having a scarcity. And you have to understand also the environmental influence. For example, pharmaceutical companies will always look for technologies which are going to give less polluting aspects. I mean to say, when you wanted to create a chemical, a specialty chemical, the raw materials need to be refined, they have to be processed, and in the process of processing them to make a specialty chemical, you create a kind of an effluent, and how do you treat that effluent? So, you have to look at the people who are having awareness about pollution control and the norms which are prescribed by the pollution control board and the statutory requirements. These things in fact will play a major role in selecting the right person. And what is the corporate plan? Suppose your carbon emissions are 10 at this point of time. I would like to say that as an example. How would you like to reduce that one from 10 to 5? What is your corporate action plan for that? So, keeping that corporate action plan in mind, how are you going to recruit people? What kind of skill sets are required to enable the organization to cut the carbon emissions? And as a part of the human resource management system, you must have manpower planning for each function. I mean to say, each functional head must be thorough with the requirements of his department, what kind of, why they are required, the rationale for their requirement, and future plan, which means it is a collaborative effort. It is not just HR doing this. Remember that HR will be doing that one in close association with the functional head. What are the benefits and advantages rather that an organization can get through human resource planning? I mean to say, in a broader manner, staffing function is useful for the organization. How it is useful? Because it certainly assesses the nature of human resources existing and required, and what is the supply of skilled manpower in the market, and what kind of CTCs are currently operating in the market. For example, if you are requiring an R&D scientist, suppose you are working in a company called paper making. So, paper making technology has developed widely, and it requires a kind of an R&D, and there are people available in the market with research and development experience in making paper in a way which is less polluting to the environment, and also productivity is increased. So you need a very talented persons in the market, and how is their supply? Are they abundantly available, or available only in few numbers, but they are not unemployed, everybody is employed? Then what do? You have to headhunt. I mean to say, you have to encourage people working in the organizations by reaching out to them and telling them that you will provide more exciting working environment, more remuneration and things like that. See, it's nothing but a cutthroat competition in such cases, but you have to indulge in that one to keep your organizational objectives that are to be met. Okay, and there is a rapid technological change that is happening in many fields, so you have to understand what is happening in the, so HR is actually must have rather a business knowledge about what is happening in the business or the kind of business the organization is doing. What are the costs of recruitment and hiring? Suppose as I told you in the previous example, you have to headhunt, you have to hire a headhunter, a placement agency to do that one. That agency will be charging, say for example, 1 month salary at CTC kind of a thing for every position which is recruited. So your cost of recruitment is going to be increased further. Can you do it on your own, or can you take Naukri.com and Monster.com data access, so that you will be able to screen the applications, call the candidates who have put up their profiles in the Naukri.com seeking jobs. So are you having a LinkedIn page for yourself, a Facebook page for yourself? Are you active in the social media like Twitter, where you can even post your jobs? Doesn't matter. So because people who are looking for a very specialized kind of a talent will have to explore all the possibilities. Okay, so you need to look at what kind of mobility people are having. For example, if your job is requiring mobility increasingly, you need to look for people who will love being mobile. So you have to position your vacancy in such a manner that you will say, for example, you are a sales and marketing guy who is moving around in a one particular segment. You may say that we have a special plan for you to take your family while you are on the job to visit places. So this is embedded in your CTC. Suppose you are saying that way, then the person will certainly be encouraged to apply for the job. You need to find out there is a reduction in the wastage of the organization resources, time, resources and human resources. Human resources as a corporate assets, you must understand that one. They are very unique assets, because companies can be made or companies can be probably closed only because of human resources. They can make or break the organizations. What is the size of the firm for which you need a kind of a talent, and what kind of profitability you are expecting from the organization, thereby what kind of percentage of manpower cost your organization will be able to shell it out, and what is the investment you are making in training and developing the people. So these things are very important for you to understand. Only you can understand when you do a thorough human resource planning. Now let us understand the role of technology, or the kind of support that you get from technology for hiring people. Okay, every department is interlinked in this current ERP scenario. Interdependency is the hallmark of all the organizations. The current work scenario or the work culture demand a collaborative effort. You cannot say I am in my box, I operate within my box. I am sorry, nobody is operating in the box. Of course, there are some IT companies which are having specialized jobs like coding and things like that, which people will be doing by gluing to their own workstations or the laptops, and they will be producing the things and they will be giving it. They may be I would say independent entities, but in many organizations your output is going to be the input of somebody, and that person's output is also again going to be the input of somebody. So there is an interlinkage kind of a thing, and people would like to be more professional. They don't want to be ad hoc, they don't want to be casual in nature, they would like to be professional. And there are service level agreements even within the department. For example, production department will say that I produce X items with Y kind of a quality, and it will say that I will send these things to the sales and marketing department because they will be able to delight the customer with the quality which is being expected from the company by the customers. So for all these things you will have excellent ERP systems, enterprise resource planning systems, relational database management systems. These things are going to give you so much of data, and you speak anything with data. When you speak with data, you are grounded in the reality. I mean to say that you are speaking something which is meaningful. So staffing is a function which is very critical for all of us in the organizations, and especially for the job seekers. If you want to know the work which is happening behind hiring you, you must understand and appreciate these things. All the best to you. Thank you very much.